coming up in a few moments' time as well. There's a new project that's been set up to help people who experience domestic abuse in the West. The work is carried out by the project called Seeds will allow survivors to take part in shaping and improving how women are treated. Now, if you've been affected, they'd like to hear from you. I'm joined in the studio this morning by two members, Amanda and Vanessa. Girls, thanks very much for coming into the show today. I've talked about love and relationships on the radio for many years, and one thing that constantly comes back to me time after time after time is how many females, and I know blokes are affected as well, but we're talking predominantly about women this morning, how many women are being beaten up by their partner. Yes. I know that's pretty basic stuff, but that's basically what it comes down to, isn't it?
That's right, yes,
okay.
Absolutely.
Would you like to talk a little bit this morning about what's happened in your past? And now I know your husband has been, or your ex-husband,
yes,
has been put away now, but
he has, yes. I suffered from domestic abuse. My husband was violent against me and against my children.
What was he doing?
The slapping, punching, kicking, the usual sort of assault behaviour. He was convicted of assaults against me and of throwing my 7-week-old baby across the room, in fact, on one occasion.
Why was he doing this?
Why? It's all about power and control. It's about feeling entitled to behave in a certain way. And often men who perpetrate abuse on their wives and their partners, it's just the only way they know how to behave, and they need to be trained to prevent that. But
how long was this going on for?
Oh, several years. I mean, the national statistics are very clear on this and set out that only about 40% of abuse is actually reported to police, even though there are vast numbers of women who are affected by it across the UK.
And once again, this is something that's come up to me time and time again. You know, when I've talked about this stuff on the radio, people have phoned me up and said, well, why didn't she do something about it?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of it is to do with the various pressures that women are under in that situation. Firstly, there's embarrassment. You don't want people to know what's happening to you. You feel dreadful because you can't quite believe yourself that this is happening to you, that the partner, the man that you married, could behave in this way towards you, or indeed towards your children. There's fear that the community will find out, that you'll be shunned, that you will be there'll be repercussions, because if you were to go to the police, he may well do something even more serious to you, hurt you even more, or hurt your family.
Is that sort of stuff he was saying to you?
Absolutely, on a regular basis.
So this isn't just physical, this is verbal abuse?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the project that we're here to talk about today has adopted the national definition for abuse, which includes psychological abuse. I mean, obviously the police are interested in physical abuse, if you like, violence, because that's something they can prosecute. But for most women, the psychological abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse, feeling trapped in their own homes. I was often locked in. He'd take the car keys away and prevent me from being able to leave the house, that sort of thing, checking my emails, checking my phone, making sure I couldn't contact anybody.
You see, talking to you this morning, you seem quite a strong female to me.
Yes.
And it seems, I can't get in my head how somebody would have that sort of control over somebody like you.
Yes, I think it is very difficult, and there are a lot of misconceptions about who is an abused woman, if you like. Yes, I'm a lawyer, and my husband was an architect. We come from upper middle class families, and I was, I'm a very strong person. I run my own business. But unfortunately, once you're in a relationship like that, the manipulation and the way in which people control your behaviour, you do become completely downtrodden and unable to cope.
Did you ever think it would change?
I hoped it would change. For the first year or so, I recall thinking perhaps he was having some sort of mental breakdown. Perhaps this wasn't really him. But the reality is, of course, that it is, and that they spend the first 6 months, 12 months in a relationship investing a lot in getting you hooked in, so that once you're in, then they can start with the behaviour that's unacceptable.
What happened to him?
Sorry?
What happened to him?
He's serving 5 years in prison for what he did to me and to my children.
So I'm kind of thinking, one morning you got up and thought, this is it.
I can't cope any longer, yes. He'd assaulted me. He'd raped me the previous week. He was continuing on a daily basis to grind me down. And there was a snapping point, and I just literally snapped and so said, I can't take this anymore, and called the police and asked them to remove him.
What was the reaction from the police? Because you'd said previously this morning that you kind of worried how you'd be dealt with and whether you'd be believed as well.
They were fantastic. I think the old idea that people have about the police thinking that this is just a domestic and they'll go away, that's no longer the case. They have positive arrest policies. They work very hard to make sure that they get to the bottom of the matter. On the day they came out, they were already aware of me. They were already aware of the fact that he'd assaulted me on previous occasions. They had been out to the house on many occasions, and you could be forgiven for thinking, well, why would they keep coming out if you don't take it any further? If they, because they could get fed up with people as well.
Was he taken away there and then?
No, he wasn't. He was asked to calm down and kept outside of the property. I was very lucky because it was my property, so I was in a position to be able to allow that. And he wasn't actually arrested for another couple of weeks, but he was removed so that I was made to feel safe.
He's inside right now. Do you feel
is.
safe for the future?
I feel safe for now. I know when he will come out, and I already have to plan ahead for the safety of myself and my children when he's released from prison, yes.
Amanda, thanks very much for sharing that this morning. If I can turn to Vanessa now, if I can talk briefly, you're a victim as well. What have you been through?
I never like to be called a victim. In fact, to be honest,
What do you like to be called then?
I don't know, but it's just victim. It's just an awful word.
Okay.
You're a survivor, really, aren't you? You survived the domestic abuse that you suffered.
Victim makes me feel weak again.
Right.
It's gone on for a few years, and like Amanda,
This is your partner or your husband?
With my husband.
Yes.
I was in a very long marriage. I was with my hubby for nearly 25 years, and it wasn't all bad. And other than the violence, it's more of the mental abuse. You asked why you don't leave, why people don't leave. You lose so much of your own confidence and your self-belief. You don't know. You lose trust. You don't know who to trust. And that's the one thing you need, is to be able to contact somebody, and that it will be somebody you trust. And if you don't know who you trust, you don't contact people. That's why you stay in that situation. And I too called the police a couple of times. And on the last time, it just felt that if I didn't go, then somebody would die, because I was starting to protect myself. And there's one lock that I'll never forget. It's where he's strangling you, and you can't get out of that. It's just impossible. My arms, my legs, nothing seemed to be long enough. The pushing and the shoving. 1 minute you're told you've got to leave your home. The next minute you're told you're not going anywhere. You just don't know what to do. And when the police took him away just to separate us, I knew something just clicked, and I just knew I had to go. I didn't know where to go. I'm in my 40s. I haven't got a clue what to do.
What did you do?
I got in my car, my children at university. I packed just a small bag with me, but I took absolutely everything to do with the cat. I took my cat, her cage, her litter box, her food. I just packed everything for the cat in the car. I got in the car and I drove. And I just headed in the direction I last drove in that car. I didn't know where I was going, and that's where I stayed. I slept in my car. Because I didn't know who to trust. Even my best friends, I don't know if I felt ashamed or if it was true what he was telling me, that nobody would believe me. And it took some time, and it was, like I said, I don't know anything about how to survive out there. And I've had to learn a lot in the last 2 years. And that's why I got involved with this project, so other people know there is help out there.
Yeah, hearing both your stories this morning, it's stuff that I've heard before. But I'm kind of thinking, when you were going through this, you kind of thought, nobody else goes through this, it's just me. Why is he doing this to me?
Well, the first thing I said when I got into the refuge, it took them 3 days to talk me in. And I have so much to thank them for. But the first thing I said to them when I went in was, I'm not a victim of domestic abuse. And that's what I kept on saying. I shouldn't be here. Please give somebody else this room who needs it. You don't have to be hit violently with fists. You can be pushed against things. You can be dragged downstairs. And you can be bruised from head to toe, just being barged against items in that room. But they heal. Bruises heal and bones fix. but in your head, it takes so much longer.
How do you feel today about things?
Oh, gosh. 18 months ago, I wouldn't be sat here.
Right.
I'm so much more confident, but that's because of the Women's Refuge, what they did for me. The support group that we set up, which is helping others like myself, and getting involved with things like Seeds, where we can educate others and say, please, there are people out there that can help, and when we can make changes as well, so that people following me are educated, do know where to go, and the services that are supporting them understand how it feels, so they can have empathy for what we went through and what others will and are going through right now.
Vanessa, there will be women listening to this right now who are going through what you've been through. What do you say to them?
I'd say I really understand how you're feeling at the moment, and when the time is right, you will know when it's time to leave, and you will get out of there, and there is people out there to help. There's the Women's Aid 24-hour free phone line to call. Trust me, and I did it. I knew nothing about how to survive financially. I never saw my children for 6 months, even though in university, because I was in a safe house. And I love my hubby still terribly. And that's probably the saddest part. And
Do you care about him?
I absolutely adore him. I absolutely love him.
Why do you care?
He was always my soulmate. And he always will be. And I just hope that maybe when he's old and he's taken his teeth out, that we'll get back together again. I always still have that hope, but I also know that we can't live together. Because if he didn't kill me, then I might kill him. And that's really what it comes down to. So I still hope in my heart that I do get back together with him.
Vanessa, you're very brave. Thank you very much for sharing that with me this morning. Amanda, if I can come back to you now, tell me about Seeds, what they can offer.
Okay, so Seeds is a project that we've set up in North Somerset. There are 5 other Seeds groups across the UK, and basically it stands for Survivors Empowering and Educating Domestic Abuse Services. And what it means is that survivors like myself and Ness have got together, and we've looked at the services that are available, and we've spoken to other survivors, and we've realised that there are things could improve in various ways. And what we've undertaken is a project, and that's why we're here today really. We launched it for International Women's Day a couple of weeks ago, and we now want survivors to get in touch and share their experiences. We're offering one-to-one interviews with survivors by a survivor, so that person should feel comfortable in disclosing what can be some very traumatic issues. We will carry out a one-to-one interview, and then at the end of this year we hope to be able to present that at a big conference. We've already had sign-up from the Domestic Abuse Strategy Group for North Somerset, which says that they will implement the changes that we recommend as a result of this survey, so we know it will make a big change to women.
How can people get in contact with you?
Well, we'd really like them to either phone or email us. We have a dedicated phone line, which is 07713 473 850. Or you can contact us on our website, which is northsomersetseeds@gmail.com. If you contact us on either of those, then we'd be very happy to speak to you. We have a questionnaire that we would go through with you, and we are making a £10 cash payment to anybody that takes part in the project, just to cover their expenses in taking part.
Excellent. If you didn't get those numbers down, don't worry. Got them on file here at BBC Radio Bristol. Amanda and Vanessa, thank you very much for taking the time to come in today.
Thank you.